Hi there, everyone. It's been quite a while since my last video post, and I just want to apologise for that. I didn't even look how, how long ago it was. The reasons for that are I've had a lot on, and for various reasons, I've had to really prioritise my work. So I've had to put all my energies into uh, a couple of things that I needed to focus on. And of course, I've had to prioritize my health as well, make sure I'm not doing too much, which is part of the course when you have chronic fatigue syndrome. I do have to say, though, that just lately my energy levels have improved a lot. They got a bit wobbly over winter again for various reasons. But I am feeling pretty good at the moment, and fingers crossed, I will have more time from now on to do more of these videos. Fingers crossed. So what I wanted to talk about today, now, I think the last time I did a video, I promised that I'd be reviewing this book, Heal Your Nervous System by Dr. Linnea Pasala. And today I want to have a look at that, but there is another book I want to look at too, because they're both kind of similar in their focus, and I'll talk about the other one in a minute. But the reasons I want to look at these two books in particular is because in the last few years, I've become more and more convinced that chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and probably quite a few other chronic conditions are, if not caused by, certainly are perpetuated by anxiety and fear. Because I also believe that many people with chronic conditions, particularly CFS, are people who are highly sensitive. And I've talked about the sensitive gene before, where it's scientifically proven that at least 20% of people have this higher sensitivity, both physically and emotionally. Of course, then for that reason, we need to be addressing fear and anxiety because they tend to come along with high sensitivity. So these two books are great, I think, for looking at ways of dealing with fear and anxiety and the fatigue and chronic conditions that come along with those. Now, neither of these books are particularly focused on chronic fatigue syndrome, but they do mention this condition, and they also mention fibromyalgia in both of these books, but they're not focused completely towards that. But I do think they are a great help. And the first book I want to talk about is this one. It's called Positive Energy, and it's by Judith Orloff, MD. Now, she has written, this is just one of many books that Judith Orloff has written specifically aimed at people with high sensitivity. And the strapline of this book is 10 extraordinary prescriptions for transforming fatigue, stress and fear into vibrance, strength and love. She's a really extraordinary writer, and as I say, she's written a lot of these, and this is one of the earliest ones, so you might want to look her up and see what other of her books might suit you, more up-to-date ones. But this one I read some time ago, and I've actually just been rereading it recently, just to sort of update myself on what she says and see if there's anything that I've missed as well along the way. It's always good even when you're feeling better, to just keep checking all the different things, all the different strategies you need to be doing to make sure you don't fall back into habits, etc., that might be perpetuating chronic fatigue. And in this book, Orloff sort of breaks down the chapters into what she calls prescriptions. And there are 10 of them. Let me just go through to give you an idea. So the first chapter is the first prescription: awaken intuition and rejuvenate yourself. So she looks at the power of being intuitive around situations, people, etc. The second one is find a nurturing spiritual path, in which she talks about being spiritual doesn't have to mean being religious at all. I'm not religious, but I do believe in certain things, and having some sort of belief is really, really strengthening, and gives you a sort of grounding. And of course, also here she talks about the benefits of meditation, which I've always gone on about. The third one is design an energy-aware approach to diet, fitness, and health. That's a really good one. Diet is something that I've been looking at a lot recently too, and I might talk about that in another video. There's not much more I can say about that. It's diet and fitness. Prioritizing your health is such an important thing if you want to increase your energy levels. The fourth one is generate positive emotional energy to counter negativity. So this is all about looking at so-called negative emotions and how to deal with those. The fifth one is develop a heart-centered sexuality. So that's kind of about making sure that you are finding the right partners, that and you're being free to be yourself within your sexuality. The sixth one is open yourself to the flow of inspiration and creativity. Well, that speaks for itself too, doesn't it? It's the importance of finding something that really inspires you, something creative, something that you can do. And that is incredibly energizing. The seventh one is celebrate the sacredness of laughter, pampering, and the replenishment of retreat. I think that one too speaks for itself. And then goes into part 2, which is about dealing with other people. The 8th chapter is attract positive people and situations. And the 9th one is protect yourself from energy vampires. This is her kind of word. Energy vampires is her word for those people you might know or meet who kind of suck the life out of you or the room. And kind of drain your energy. We all know some, and she talks about how to deal with those. And then the last chapter is create abundance. Abundance doesn't necessarily mean lots of money, or it can do, but just that feeling of abundance in your life of all kinds of things. It's a great book. She's such a positive person, Judith Orloff, and so I think that her books, do go and have a look. I've put a link to this one in the description, but do go and have a look at her other books, because you just might find something really useful there. Now, this is the book I promised you that I would be reviewing, and I went through this, it's quite a few months ago now. And this is Heal Your Nervous System by Dr. Linnea Pasala. And it's the 5-stage plan to reverse nervous system dysregulation. And The premise of this book is that nervous system dysregulation is something, again, that tends to be the cause of or perpetuate chronic conditions. So where our nervous system has become unbalanced. And she takes you through a series of chapters that you do one after the other to rebalance your nervous system. And it's important that you go through this quite slowly and make sure you cover all the detailed chapters and strategies that she uses. Now, I think this is a really good book if you are new to this kind of neurological focus regarding chronic fatigue syndrome. I must say that when I read this book, I felt, yes, I've done a lot of this kind of work before. So it wasn't as kind of mind-blowingly new to me, I have to say. But I think but some of the things, were very, very useful. So it's always worth checking these out. But she does a lot of work. Again, she talks about high sensitivity, which I think is really brilliant. Right at the beginning of the book, she talks about people with high sensitivity, breaking down the stereotypes of people with high sensitivity, and seeing how this high sensitivity can be a cause of an unbalanced nervous system. And she gives you all kinds of exercises, both physical and emotional, to cope with that, with your your sensitivity, your nervous system, bit by bit, in a sort of step-by-step process. So yes, I would recommend this book if you are new to this kind of process and looking at nervous system and looking at high sensitivity. If you've done a lot of this work before, it might not be quite as useful. But definitely she knows what she is talking about. So this is a great book by a very well-researched, knowledgeable writer. So if you are looking for something to help with your nervous system and to see if that can help with recovering from chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, then yes, do go ahead and have a look at this book. So that's it for now. I hope it's not too long again before my next video. And please, if you know of any other books that have really helped you with your chronic fatigue syndrome and or fibromyalgia, then do let me know in the comments, and I can perhaps have a look at those as well and maybe review those in a future video. If there's anything you particularly would like me to talk about, also please let me know. Any ideas for future videos, I'll be happy to have a look at. So that's all from me for now, and be well, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.